Hello and welcome everyone to episode 169 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derrick, and I'm joined by a wonderful co-host and freelance letterer, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good and nice.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it. It was just like the 100 throws me off.
Well, not only that, but like every time I save a new file, like, you know, it's like it's at the end of the folder, so I'm having to scroll a ways, and I'm like, we've done 169 episodes. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we are kind of rapidly approaching episode 200, which is wild.
Yeah. Wow. And we're approaching the end of your first new arc.
Yes.
Which is also wild.
It is not far off, and that is very evident from that. However, while I definitely enjoyed this set, I'm starting to see a few cracks. And it's interesting in that way, but it's basically exasperating things that we were talking about before. So, like, just small issues that was like, okay, Oda wasn't quite able to bring it all together in a fully satisfactory way, but it's still pretty close.
Yeah. It feels relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, and I think it is something that I don't want to like oversell. I do think it gets better. I do think this is kind of maybe I could be wrong. I feel like this is the worst example of like things kind of getting moved around and cut short. And I feel like I was, you know, when we were early on in Dressrosa, I was like, man, I forgot how good some of this stuff is. And then kind of now that we're here, kind of like ending off fights one after another, I'm like, okay, this is the stuff where I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is fine. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
It's good. It's fine. It's satisfying in its own way. You know, you're not getting, compared to Alabasta real quick, you're not getting like the sort of character growth of some of the characters, especially the One Piece, like especially the actual crew, because you know you have Usopp and Chopper stepping up. You have this sort of showdown with Sanji that sort of steps up. The first fight that Nami gets, even though it's not a great fight. You know, Zoro learning how to cut metal. You know, it felt impactful with each one, and the impact of these, especially the two that I was most looking forward to, is like, it's good.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not like I'm not like these were bad fights. It's just kind of, I think because there's so much going on, you really do kind of like, okay, we kind of have to scooch, you know, all these things off to the side. And as we'll get to, I definitely felt that with Zoro's side of things, just because he's been running around for like 30 chapters.
Yeah.
So it really feels like what we cover here could have happened 30 chapters ago, and really nothing would have changed.
No, and you lose the there's also the lack of the texture that we were always talking about with the last episode. How like, we just beat you know, the fight itself with Senor Pink, while definitely unique, isn't exactly that exciting. But it's the texture of his backstory and adding like why he's like that. That's the good stuff. The texture of Baby 5 acting the way she does. That just drew me in far more than just a regular fight. And these are just regular fights, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you definitely like Diamante and Pica are pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, I'm kind of glad that Oda didn't give everybody, like, it would be kind of a drag if everybody got a backstory. So I really, out of everybody, the fact that he chose Senor Pink and then like a little bit of Baby 5, I think is pretty great.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not necessarily the like, oh, you know, it's the officers that get kind of the least, you know. The Doflamingo's top guys are all just kind of just guys.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess kind of fits the fact that he's just sort of, you know, his own messed up, powerful guy. So yeah. But let's get into these chapters. I think it's gonna be interesting. One of those things where theoretically short because it's fights, but who knows if we have stuff to talk about. But yeah, let's begin.
Yeah, you never know what we'll latch on to.
Exactly. So yeah, chapter 776, Hero of the Colosseum. And we finally have an explanation for why the CP started rampaging, because they were sleeping in the ruins, underwater ruins. And then when Watatsumi took them and they saw them on the land, they're like, the humans took them. Screw these ships. And we're going to beat them up. So Jinbei's explaining to them what actually happened. And we can see actually a little, not a little, but one of them is a cat monster. So, So
I do love Jinbei having to play diplomat for this.
Yeah, this is one of the more enjoyable sets, I'd say, just because there's a little bit more to it. You're finally getting an explanation for what the heck's going on. It's a shame that it takes Oda like 5 mini panels in order to make this story understandable.
That's true. This is basically like 5 different cover
This is an entire page shrunk down into like a panel. It's really funny.
So it really, it that is quite odd.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of probably major demonstration of how the storytelling isn't quite. It's a bit more complicated than it needs to be, but at least it's enjoyable this time. But we begin at the Smile Factory because Senor Pink's defeated, and Frankie's just like, hey, you guys ready? This place has tortured you guys enough. Tentatas, tear this factory to the ground. And they all take off, and he collapses. He's spent. Fight with Senor Pink was rough. But we could count on the Tentatas to take it down. So that's good. And obviously all the it seems like control is getting maintained in this town below. Most people are knocked out and whatnot. It's still hell, but at least under control.
The Marines are doing something. It's very funny to be in this situation. I know that's all under Fujitora's command to be like, hey, we're gonna help people. We're gonna stay out of the way.
That's sort of our best bet here if I want to enact my justice. But it's time to see this fight between Kyros and Diamante, and I love the moon bubble, not moon bubble, the speech bubble for Diamante where he's going half moon. It's like, okay, that's good, to have that stylized like a half moon, and definitely demonstrating the power of Diamante as he splits part of the flower field and just really showing off his skills there. It is quite impressive. But everybody dodges, and of course he has to just taunt like crazy. It's like, you were just full of rage and spunk. Where'd all that go, Kyros? And I just realized, like, when he said it, like, did you really think I was just some genius matador rippling in the wind? He's like, that's why he's a ripple fruit, because he's a matador. I didn't even think of, like, wow.
What I also didn't think about is that we have Kyros is sort of like the legendary gladiator of the Colosseum versus like the current champion.
Yes.
The hero of the Colosseum. So we're kind of pitting up hero against hero. Even though Diamante's claim to that title is, perhaps a little bit dubious.
A little bit. But Kyros, of course, doesn't care about the titles. And Diamante's kind of devolved into just a cackling villain. I think that's the other thing that's throwing me off. He's just, I'm wacky, almost. It's like, I'm laughing and taunting. And I don't know, there's something off about him, it feels, from what maybe the characterization was before. Maybe he was always like this, but I think with just him having the weird smile at all times, and now he's just like really playing it up.
I think it's just that, like, he kind of had his cool before, where now he's just, I don't know, it's like he's playing with his food. It definitely feels like a little bit of a jump, right? And maybe just something so that Diamante wasn't just like a complete nothing kind of character, but he is just trying to taunt Kyros, trying to get under his skin. But I guess on the other hand too, that's also very Doflamingo like. So maybe he's channeling a little bit of his boss.
It definitely could be that he's definitely not as good at it because it's more about propping himself up than anything else. And he's like, it's like, you've been running around the kingdom all day. Then you're forced to protect your daughter as you fight the rippling surfaces I'm causing, and all on one leg. So, a normal man would have been immobilized ages ago. And he's like, no, I take pride in this leg that I've lost because it is, it's for the sake of my savior. And he's like, oh, okay, then I'm not going to feel guilty about attacking your weak point. And he starts taking out these fireworks, this launchers, I guess is the best way to put them, that he had rippled up in his coat, which is kind of a fun visual. It's like, oh, I just stash this away to use for later.
Yeah. I do think I just had a realization, just sort of like the contrast where we have Kyros, who is a very like honorable, he's a man among men, especially in this chapter, my goodness. And so I kind of feel like we have Diamante acting the way he's acting just to sort of serve as the contrast to that, as kind of the foil.
Yeah, I guess
especially where we get this where he's fighting dirty. He's got this the confetti paper that basically he does his ripple release and they turn into spiked metal balls, and so he's cheating basically. Whereas
certainly using that devil fruit to its fullest ability, and it becomes a bit of an issue where Kyros believes he's fine, but he's like, hey, protect Rebecca because she needs to take she can't dodge all this. And it's a cool visual at the very least, like seeing all these stars in the sky. It's kind of beautiful in its own way. I like what Oda does with it visually. And then we got this crazy stuff with Robin.
Yeah, I was just about to say I do like that. That Robin is here for this, at least, that she's not just kind of here to watch.
Yeah. I realize what Oda was doing here is that Kyros is the sword and Robin is the shield.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And it's very much demonstrated here with her flower umbrella, which she uses the sunflowers to catch the spike balls, which I'm kind of, those are some strong sunflowers, or I guess I don't have the strength of sunflowers in typical fashion, but
I guess if you bunch them all up together,
I guess it has some sort of a surface that allows it to block it off, which is cool to see. Like just a nice visual, actually being protected by this special place in terms of Rebecca. But you look over at Kyros and he is just knocking it down because Diamante's like, this is the ability that can take out an entire army regiment. And Kyros is like, they lack discipline. And he's just knocking them all over as he's making his way towards Diamante.
And I love that Diamante he's flipping out. He's like, Kyros. He's just knocking them all aside. This is great. But then, of course, he's just kind of like, screw it. And he just shoots him in the leg.
It's like, oh my god, like, all right. It's just, he really does get aside, push like the forward, like, he's the cheater of this whole thing. He's
you're like, I was gonna have fun with this, but you were too strong.
You're able to walk through rain without getting wet, which is kind of a fun idea. But of course, he immediately starts laughing at it, which pisses off Rebecca, who wants to just take care of him, and Kyros is like, no. You are not going to fight. This is my fight. And all the while, Robin's trying to hold her back while thinking, this umbrella is nearly broken. We're in trouble. Like,
yeah. This is not a long-term solution.
No. And Kyros stands up and just tanks it. Stands on his bullet wound of a leg, is getting pelted with all these spiked balls. And he's like, no, this is my fight. Put down your sword. You upheld your mother's wish, didn't you? And it's go back to her saying, Mother said I shouldn't hurt others. And, how basically what we talked about, where every single fight she was in, she just, tossed them into the water to disable them. And, never actually fought or hurt anybody during the entire time there. That she was, not fulfilling both the promises of her parents. And, again, got the hands thing. It's like your hands are still beautiful and pristine. The soul of your mother still resides in those hands. It's interesting how much
really
hands
like that
matters for Kyros.
Yeah. I was going to say, I really like that because it's very much like he considered his own hands to be sullied. I would not dare, touch my baby daughter with these bloodied hands of mine. So all this time that that his daughter had still kind of kept up his mother's wishes, I think it is a really nice moment.
Mm-hmm. And Kira starts rushing Diamante, and Diamante is like, "What are you made of?" I was like, no, you can't. You're just insane. You're stupid. And he's like, "No, my pain is proof of my humanity, and you would not understand that." And you get the flashes to his time as the Tin Soldier, and the fact that he can feel pain means something to him. It's like, oh, I'm alive, and this pain that you're making me feel means nothing compared to the pain of not being able to feel the warmth of my wife's dying body leave her, or hold my child and feel her warmth, or cry, or be able to do any of that stuff. So I am the pure rage of this country. And
man, the dude, Kira's speech.
Yeah, there's good stuff here. I think it's just Diamante himself
really
that kind of holds it back.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get this sort of clash between them, and it's like, oh, okay, well, my steel reign is over, but I can still finish you off nice and quick, like I did with Scarlet. He's just, of course, rubbing it in as much as possible, and it basically, he's like, all right, I'm gonna take your half moon and see what we can do here. And no, we get Kyros using his Treno Bastardo and cuts the sword in half for Diamante, takes him down, and that's it for the fight. Which, it's a good speech, but I think my issue is this victory doesn't feel earned.
It feels like it's missing something, doesn't it?
Right. Like,
it feels like, and that's not to say that just like, oh, we need, I'm not trying to be a nitpicky editor, like, oh, we needed one more chapter here, one fewer chapter here, but just sort of like, there's like, Kyros gets there, Robin gets there, and then the fight ends, and I feel like this fight should have had one more thing before it wrapped. I don't know. Like, I like this. I do.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you get the idea from the early bits of the fight that Diamante was constantly like rippling away, and Kyros was having trouble actually hitting him. But the only reason he hits him here is because he, I guess, catches him in the middle of him getting ready for his attack, and Kyros is able to basically intercept it in time, which is something. But it's also like, I can't help but think immediately is like, why didn't he dodge? Like,
there's maybe nothing really kind of describing, like, I guess like a narrative reason, right? Like, we got the emotional conclusion, and it's great, but sort of the like kind of the more beat to beat, action to action. I feel like that sort of aspect fell to the wayside a little bit.
Yeah, you don't get that same. To compare it back to Alabasta and Zoro's fight, you had the texture of him learning a new technique, or learning a way to get past the fact that this is a devil fruit user that he cannot get past, and Kyros doesn't have that. He just he just sort of couldn't, and now then does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's sort of he did it because he was stronger, because he was built different. There's not really that kind of that sense of overcoming. But I do think that's also a really tricky aspect about Dressrosa's fights, and that so many of them are kind of taken over by, and not taken over, not like a negative sense, but we only have half the Straw Hats, and it's a lot of the new characters who are getting major fights and major conclusions against Doflamingo's officers. So in terms of, I don't even know if like in terms of character development necessarily, because like I actually really like, even though I don't really care about Gladius as a character, seeing Bartolomeo finish him off was actually like, having the homage to Luffy's Gum Gum pistol was like a really cool moment.
Yeah,
and a really cool bit of like development for him. But I think it feels like there's one little missing piece.
Missing some kind of beat, and I couldn't even tell you what that beat is, but we just missed that one beat that really pulls it together. However, The next chapter kind of adds a beat that I didn't think of that is beautiful, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It honestly, in retrospect, kind of like, okay, we'll take that. We do have an SBS though before we get to that, where not too much here. It's just weird kids. Like when I chug a carbonated beverage, I get a tummy ache. What should I do? I don't chug it. And
why did he answer that?
I don't know. Also, hey, I designed Panda Man's parents, so please make them official. And it's just 2 buff Panda Men. It's like, why did you draw the mother as a, obviously male? And he's like, thanks for the letter, but rejected.
She's going topless. It's it's obscene.
Yeah,
for a children's manga.
It just, the only difference is that the dad is just slightly buffer. It's so weird. But let's get to chapter 777, Zoro versus Pica. And basically, everybody's apologizing to each other. Like, Watatsumi and the Sea Beast are apologizing to the people. And hey, remember that cat creature in the last panel? There's the reuniting with the parent. So
yeah. I love how much Jinbei's expression is just like, oh God.
It's like, these people. I just wanted to travel in my boat and meet my friends.
Exasperated.
But we begin the chapter with, this is such a nice bit here where it's the reaction of Riku, Viola, and I forget the Tank. It's like, the man Diamante, we got to there first. Lady Scarlet found her body riddled with bullets. It wasn't a single bullet that Scarlet died to. He shot her a bunch, which is who. And then him taunting Viola. It's like, she was trying to, that was your sister. Huh? Well, if she just dealt with her hunger, she wouldn't have had to die. And then, Tank remembering having to hold back Viola from even trying
I'm gonna stab him.
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna get him. So it means a lot to have Diamante defeated by Kyros. And again, great extra texture. But the best part is that when he falls, his head hits the wooden stake that represents Scarlet's grave.
Yeah. At first, I thought he was gonna get stabbed through the back.
I did
just
too.
By the way that it's framed. I was like, One Piece is not that kind of manga. Okay.
It's not. It's kind of funny that he just bonks his head, but it's also like, it would have been kind of satisfying to see him just get impaled like that.
Yeah. Maybe in a seinen manga.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you can see how there's a little bit of texture there just showing the cruelty of Diamante. It adds a little bit to it, but I don't know why it just doesn't fully click with me for Diamante as a character. But again,
definitely not.
It's all the emotion around him that does work though.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a great thing here where, he's defeated. Rebecca is, just emotional and just so happy. And, Kyros thanks Robin for protecting her, make sure there's not a scratch on her. So she runs off. And I love this bit here where, she was mentioning how the sunflowers weren't doing are not holding out. And you can see that there's a hole in the sunflowers where Robin positioned them. So it avoided Rebecca, but her back is tore up.
Yeah, which I kind of really like that. It's one of those things where you don't think about it in the moment, and then you just see Robin kind of like trying to hold it together until she can finally just. Whew.
Very Alabasta vibes where the fight's over and they all pass out in the rain.
Yeah.
So another great moment. Even though she didn't get the fight, I like this. This adds that
it took sacrifices to protect Rebecca.
Yeah. Yes, it was more than just, hey, I picked a bunch of flowers.
Yeah.
So Rebecca and Kyros stand are next to each other over the defeated body of Diamante as well as the grave, and that's when Viola reports that Kyros won. Rebecca's fine, and Robin protected her from harm. So
we got four left.
Yeah, that's hope is back. It's like, really?
Yeah.
They managed to do that? And
we're so back.
And Tank's just like, they're falling one after the other. That's, oh my God, this is amazing. And so, as you said, only 4 remain: Bellamy, Pica, Treble, and Doflamingo. And they're just like, we never thought they'd get this far.
Yeah. Yeah, and even the average people were just like, and to think that, to think we once hoped to be saved by capturing these heroes fighting for us. So we're glad everybody's on, everybody's on their side now.
Mm-hmm. And now Riku's like, okay, I'm no longer in danger. I'm going into town. There's a lot to get done. And, Tank's like, yeah, I'm going to come with you. And I'm not seeking the help of the government or the Navy. Screw them for allowing this to happen.
It's cool that it seems like whatever they're doing, they're going to kind of take things into their own hands.
Very much so.
Kind of, I like the idea of the people of Dressrosa kind of gaining back agency in that way.
Mm-hmm. And I like how the people are like, we got to give the rest of the town hope. Like, we got to let them know there is, like, things are...
Keep fighting. Yeah.
Yes.
Hang in there. Yeah.
And then it becomes like, hey, where's Fujitora? And that's when you see him. He's down with the rest of his men. And it's basically like, gather up all the townsfolk in one place. We're going to keep them safe as much as possible. So it's like plans are still being enacted here for him, which is cool. However, hey, remember Pica?
Yeah.
All of a sudden burst forth with all kinds of spikes and whatnot. And he just starts taunting Diamante. Is like, you're a miserable wreck. And Kyrus is like, oh, okay, I gotta fight you too. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah.
And Rebecca's like, you can barely move. This is not happening.
Yeah, it's interesting too that you kind of get that, like, it's funny coming from Pica that he also kind of does kind of the similar speech to Diamante, like similarly kind of cartoonishly one-dimensional. He's just, what is King Riku to you? He's the reason you're disposed. These basically like, I'm gonna,
why do you care about that, man? I'm gonna just mess you.
Exactly. Yeah. What did they do? What did they do to you? Yeah.
Yeah. But that's when he disappears, and Zoro's just sort of upset. It's like, does he even want to fight? He just keeps hiding in this earth. So, how am I going to fight? Like, I can take him out. He just needs to actually fight me, and he's just not doing it. Which has been the issue the entire time, because, again, look at him. There's not a scratch on him. He's not even ruffled.
Yeah, he's breathing a little bit. He's been running around in an entire country all afternoon, but yeah, it's really not been much.
It's also why Oda gave him Pica, who's somewhat uses a sword, but not really, and not Diamante, because, as we're going to see, I don't think Kyrus will remain undefeated if he fought Zoro.
Certainly.
It'd be a hell of a fight, but yeah. But Pica starts doing stuff to piss off Zoro, where he starts just attacking the injured. Just everybody that's down for a count is getting attacked. He's even goes after Baby 5, which Sai throws himself in there to protect her, and just starts knocking around all the people that have been passed out and are just roughed up at this point. And just like, Zoro's like, fight me, don't keep going after them. And he's trying to use his like bite stone to go after him. And I like the subtlety here when Zoro uses his demon horse, because we find out how Pica's powers work whenever Zoro slices him. And there's a hint of that in this art.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So
I didn't think of that. That's cool. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's a nice bit there, but we'll get there. But yeah, of course, because it's funny. I'm sure the anime version of this is kind of hilarious, because you just have this really squeaky voice, doing this evil speech. Very much Emperor's New Groove in that way.
Yeah.
And he's basically just like, yeah, I'm going to go to the former royal plateau, take out Riku, take out God Usopp, all the samurai, all of them. And
not God Usopp.
And nothing you can do about it. And sure enough, he reforms into that giant the statue, just starts taking it all. Like, he is just absolutely massive, and starts stepping through the town, messing up this poor country even more. And
yeah, I feel like most of the wanton destruction has been because of Pica.
Pretty much. And Pica did have a plan where he basically wanted to get Zoro as far away from there as possible so he could then go for it, and Zoro couldn't stop him.
Yeah, he got baited.
Yep. So here he comes. He's just a straight up kaiju. Like, he is massive.
Yeah.
Heading straight towards them. And so Zoro has to think of a plan. It's like, okay, shoot some slashes. No, it's too far to be effective, so that won't knock him out. Plan 2, jump onto his back. Nah, can't reach. Plan 3, yell really loud so they can be aware of the danger. Nah, they can't hear me at this distance. Plan 4, use a transponder snail to tell them to escape. Nope, don't have a transponder snail. All right, plan 5, fly through the air, cut him down, and yeah.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah, and here's Pica just in his full stone form, getting ready to just cracking knuckles, ready to pound right into it. And he's like, all right, plan 5. Let's go with that one. And that's the chapter. Like, this is actually one of the few times where it takes 2 chapters to finish off a guy, because God forbid Pica get taken out quickly.
Yeah. Definitely, God, this has been the most dragged out fight, if you want to call it a fight.
It's so epic in scale. It should be awesome. Why am I bored? Yeah. It's like, I like the scale, but it's just like there's no threat. Especially because the last panel is Zoro thinking, and then you have this snap, and then they show him again, and he immediately has his bandana on. It's like, oh, okay. Now he's
like, it's over.
Go time.
It's over.
Yeah. Just all right. We do have an SBS before we move on, though. It's like, one is like, why is there so many characters that One Piece characters that have mothers that are unknown or deceased? It's like, the answer is simple. The antonym of adventure is mother. You can't go. I mean, that's sort of what you had to deal with constantly with Chi-Chi and Gohan. So it's not wrong.
It is sort of the cliche of adventure stories. Well, I feel like it's either the, don't go, you're too young, or, I think of, like moms and like Pokemon are very much kind of like, oh, you're 10, get out.
You're old enough.
You're fine.
I'll hold on to some money, or, here's a map or some running shoes. You'll be fine. You got Pokemon with you. And then we find out that there's actually a bit of a naming scheme with Gimlet in Russian. For Senor Pink, because it's wordplay on the famous line about gimlets in Raymond Chandler's The Long Goodbye, which is a hard-boiled novel. So if he's going to do the hard-boiled bit, I need to get that name in there. So gimlets, Russian is a type of cocktail, so there it is. That's sort of the idea of just having that hard-boiled line the entire way through, which, I like when there's a bit of meaning behind names. Although apparently Oda can't handle his alcohol.
Which is a little funny, yeah.
Yeah. And then we have another question is, why are Robin and Nami's boobs keep getting bigger? Is like... And Oda just says, oh, I'm drawing the dreams of boys everywhere. People, not women of the world, people of the world grow big boobs. So, you know what? I'll take it. Boobs. Everybody should have big boobs.
What? I agree. Wait.
Oh, God. All right. Let's get to chapter 778, Tactics number 5. And this is when I started paying attention to Jinbei.
Yep. Hello.
It's like, oh, hello. We got ourselves a bit of potential lore here if he decides to bring it along with him. Mm-hmm. Got himself a why am I blanking on the name of it?
Poneglyph.
Poneglyph.
Yeah. I love that it's titled, oh yeah, we found this in the ruins.
So that's kind of neat. Makes you wonder what that's all about, but I don't even know if he does he know Robin can read poneglyphs?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like he should. I feel like
so?
If we didn't see that interaction on screen, I feel like he should still know.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get that to the Straw Hats ASAP.
I'm curious what this one might say, if anything.
Yeah. Although now that you know what, I was about to say something. I'm not gonna say it.
All good.
Yeah.
But let's get into the chapter itself, where Pica's going after King Riku, and basically everybody's calling out. It's like don't do it, stay away. And here's Bartolomeo. It's like, no, Sniper King's over there. He doesn't care anybody else. Is like, no, that's where Sniper King's at. You can't hurt him.
Yeah. Everybody's like, no, King Riku.
And I like how Sai's just like, Baby Five's like, he's going after King Riku, and he's like, and Sai's just like, well, it doesn't mean anything to us, but either way, I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on here. It doesn't matter for us, but sucks to be him.
I'm getting hitched.
And that's when we have our King Elisabello here. He's like, well, good thing I saved up my King Punch. Now I can finish off Pica and save Riku. And that's when Zoro jumps in and is like, hey, you, don't stop. Like, yes. Don't do anything. He'll just regenerate. And he's like, okay, what do I do? Wait 2 minutes. And that's
yep.
and I like that. I do like this as a way to involve the other members of the Colosseum, the gladiators, that didn't get highlighted yet, because there's Elisabello has a role to play, and then Commodore Orlumbus.
Orlumbus,
has a bit. It's like, hey, I saw you throwing people like cannonballs earlier. I got something for you.
I was like, oh, and you're like, oh no.
And of course, Pica is just terrorizing the people as he's walking along. People are running in, and he's like, where are you, King Riku? And Riku's like, hey, I'm right here. Just don't cause any more destruction. And Tank is like, okay, everybody off the plateau. We need to go. We really need to go. And of course, Riku's like, he's only after me. I'm staying. But that's when Orlumbus is like, all right, buddy, you sure you want to do this? This technique is not exactly designed for the safety of the person being thrown. It's like, just shut up and throw me. Fastball special me.
Yeah, exactly.
And here he's getting closer. Is like, all right, King Riku, you're not even fit to be king, so I'm going to squash you with my hand. And excuse me, Usopp is like, oh god, his palm's the size of a town. It's falling on us. And here comes the Orlumbus's killer bowling that launches Zoro, and you can see him cover his sword with hockey as he's flying forward.
Oh yeah.
And here it is. 9 mountains and 8 seas make one world. 1,000 of those make a Chiliad world. Set that to the power of 3, and there's nothing I can't cut. And I love how you can see the sheer speed that he's being thrown at.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is a cool moment for him. And of course got Pica taunting. It's like, you think the people will love you again after their 10-year mistake was corrected? Your pacifism failed to protect your town. And Riku's like, I just want to protect them. I didn't say I'd sit on the throne again, but I will do what I can because I must remain human. If murder's the only means for me to live, then I choose death. There's no future for a nation of slaughter. So
yeah, and I love that the people are cheering him on for this.
Yeah, this is the only chance. So it's like, all right. I also, this is a dumb line. I'm not saying this is from Oda's dumb line, but I'm saying Pika's dumb. This is why saints never leave their mark on history.
It's like, I don't know.
At least in our world, I know a few saints that definitely left some mark on history.
Yeah, I guess maybe in the context of the One Piece world, where you think about I don't know, just how terrible it is. It's a nice guys finish last kind of world. But
true.
King Riku sticks to his convictions and sticks to his guns, and making Dressrosa a country without war, which is certainly admirable.
Yep. And that's when we get the billionfold world Trichylocosm, I think is how it's pronounced.
I think I didn't look that up before.
Trichylocosm, whatever that.
Yeah.
And he bisects Pica, whose palm was the size of a town. So he just cut an entire city,
the entire thing. Yeah,
that's solid in the middle in half.
What I love about the sequence too is that it's like 4 spreads.
Yeah, just to convey the size of it, because he does that once, which we know is not enough to finish him off. And that's when Zoro is still paying attention. It's like, okay, he escaped to the top half, cuts the top half in half, which is like, oh god, he's still cutting. And Usopp's, oh god, Zoro. And that's when he's like, okay, moving stone, dead stone. The real stone body always stays in one of the remaining pieces. And that's what we mentioned before, how when he split his face in that before, one of the eyes had a pupil, one of them didn't. And you can see that here.
Yeah, which is I did not think about that. That was a good observation.
Yeah. And he decides to take that opportunity to cut off the arm of Pica before he escapes into that. So you can see where that is. And then, he cuts off the arm because he's escaping into his fingers. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And he sees a little wiggle from the hand, and he starts just cutting it out into slices, like cutting up a ham.
He's just gonna cut him down to size. He's like, you're gonna get stuck in one of these pieces.
And in the air, he can't escape to the ground, so he's stuck in the air as I'm slicing off the bits like this. And there's Pica in one of the slices. So he's revealed, and that's when he finally jumps out, covers his entire body in hockey. He's like, do you think by cutting stone you can defeat me? I am invincible when infused with hockey. So I'm just going to slam you to the ground and finish you off. And that's when Zoro's like, only if your hockey is better than mine. And that's when he does his 3,000 worlds cut. And yeah, that's it for Pica. He is down.
Yeah. Well, and the pieces of him are literally coming down.
Yeah, which is why he made sure to have Elisabello save his King Punch, because there comes the King Punch, which blasts all the debris into rubble. So
I love it. He's just kind of like, how dare you? You think my King Punch is only fit to be a glorified stone sweeper? I'll get you for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome sequence. Without a doubt. Why did it take so long?
Yeah. I don't even think necessarily. I think this is the right time for it to end.
Yes.
But it just, I think, again, you get to the problem of Zoro got to this position way too early.
Yes.
And I feel like there should have, because we saw with so many other characters, they were kind of, the matchups were kind of, they were fluid, right? Things were kind of all over the place until they kind of got settled into who they were going to fight. With Zoro, it's really just been Pica this whole time, literally this whole time.
And so you can sort of get the idea that they're all supposed to be happening around the same time-ish, but it's you check in with Zoro so often it doesn't convey that.
Yeah, I think if you had a few more characters like Elisabello, Orlumbus, who were if they were trying to fight Pica, and Zoro was kind of
trapped in rock or something like that.
Yeah, trapped in, something where he, by the time that he encountered Pica, things would start kind of moving towards the conclusion. Because as it stands right now, it really is my initial reaction reading this is just kind of God, finally.
Yeah, you get it finally, but in really analyzing, it's no, this is a cool moment, but it also emphasizes that he could have finished him off. Much sooner.
And I guess that's the thing too, is that yeah, you kind of had. It's cool to see Zoro actually be tactical, to actually have to think about how to hit his opponents. But I feel like that's cool, but doesn't, I think, match up to just seeing Zoro really push to his limits. He's the guy you really want to see beaten up and bloodied, and constantly reinventing himself and
There's a reason he was constantly injured in the early,
early
One Piece, because it's the only way to make him not as powerful.
Yeah. And
or have something on the back foot.
It is cool that seeing what Zoro can do, more or less at full power. But I think it is missing that kind of nitty gritty kind of there's nothing like a good Zoro sword fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it definitely serves a function though, and that's the fact that we couldn't have Zoro too close to Doflamingo. Because I think at this point, I'm pretty sure Zoro could defeat Doflamingo.
I think you're probably right.
So
I kind of think you're right.
To emphasize Luffy more, we can't have Zoro anywhere near it.
That's true. You know what? That's fair.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next chapter, 779, his final battle. And
this is my favorite chapter of the set.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And we got a color spread where everybody's chowing down on pizza, which just makes me hungry because this is like the second time they've been eating pizza in these color spreads, and not that much time. But the funny thing with this one is they're all holding out signs for Tokyo Pirate Festival. There's flyers there that's being shown around, which is really funny to me because we've been trying to get it for those who are aware, we have the Patreon, and one of the extras we offer right now are bonus episodes where we just talk about various aspects of One Piece. Could be crossovers, could be filler arcs or specials from the anime. Recently, we did the Game Boy Advance One Piece game. So we just trying to get away from just manga and anime. So I was like, hey, let's see if there's let's take a look at One Piece theme parks and whatnot, or there's sort of special things in Japan, because there's always people touring Japan having little vlogs showing off the stuff. That'd be kind of fun to talk about what's actually there. And I'm pretty sure that what's there, because it's like the videos I found were 7 years old, something like that, was for when there was a One Piece theme park underneath Tokyo Tower. And that's what this is advertising. And that's what we're going to be talking about next on the bonus episodes.
The timing on this podcast is always just there's always somehow, some way.
Not planned at all. I was just like, oh, this seems neat. This is let's keep changing it up rather than just talking about the usual stuff. Let's cover all aspects of One Piece. And
yeah, there you go.
Weird. Check out our Patreon if you want to check out those bonus episodes. That next one will be 13 or 12?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, solid amount. Mm-hmm. But we actually start out the next chapter with a nice, a view of how Zoro got trained, which is awesome.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten much from that, and I really like this too, because. First off, Mihawk's basically have you ever broken a sword before? It's a few times. You did it to me, even. It's if you had infused those swords with hockey, they wouldn't have broken. You must treat every nick as a mark of shame. Every weapon can be turned into a black blade like mine. So that's a cool reveal that I feel like you could have put two and two together. We haven't really been thinking about Mihawk lately, but his black blade is this hockey. It's a hockey infused sword, which it makes sense.
Yeah, and I like how Zoro, the first thing he does is make sure he has those no nicks or scratches. So he's got it down. I also love that the training method is you can't have any booze until you've mastered this.
Yeah, man. He's a tough teacher.
Very much so. I also like this aspect where Fujitora is any injured? It's no, thanks to your help, the pieces just floated away and no one was harmed. So thank God for gravity powers. So
even Fujitora is helping out.
Don't have to worry about that debris. And that's when the people in town that don't know that that Doflamingo's officers are being defeated are Pica just got taken down. What's going on? This doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I love the size, that much power, and he chose not to enter the tournament.
Such humility.
He didn't know. He was pissed.
And then Don Chinchao's and Garp's grandson has him as a henchman? Which does put in perspective how strong Luffy is.
Yep. Of course, poor Bartolomeo's foaming at the mouth. He's like the guy from Avatar.
Yeah, he is. He's very much the guy from Avatar. Oh my God, that's a great visual.
Yep.
And at that moment, the Smile Factory blows up. The Tatatars are getting it done, smashing things, tossing it around, blowing up the trees, getting rid of these devil fruit. It's Doflamingo's empire is crumbling.
It really, really is.
And Treble, I can't tell if he's concerned or laughing about it because he always has his mouth so wide open. He's like, Pica's down and the factory's blowing up. Don't worry, we can still bring the defeated back and restore the factory. So take solace the fact that we, still have Mancherry, which they don't have Mancherry. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say you get co-partner.
Them losing Viola really messed them up.
It really did, actually. Yeah.
It's interesting how Doflamingo had all these like very specialized devil fruit around him to try and to really build himself up, and now they're starting to be taken away one by one. Speaking of down at the flower field, it's time for the Tatas that rescued Mancherry to meet up with Kyros and see that he's okay. So Leo's okay.
And seen him as a human for the first time.
Oh yeah. And Mancherry immediately wants to heal up Kyros because he's so hurt. And Kyros is immediately like, no, don't, not me. I've heard about your powers, but there must be a limit. So don't use them on me. I'm still conscious. What you need to do is go down and help the countless people across the land who need them. And she gets a look at Dressrosa like, oh no.
It's hell.
And everybody's mentioning like the battle's nearing its climax. It's like either this land will be returned to King Riku or it will fall back into tragedy and despair. As long as he is around, there can be no respite. Our hope currently rests in the hands of a pirate crew. And we know it's getting close to wrapping up. There's only Treble, Bellamy, and Doflamingo left. So there's not much time left. So. Time to look at the outer tower, but because, hey, remember Koala? She's still doing some espionage.
I kind of forgot about this whole bit.
I'm not sure exactly what she's going for here. It's like, Sabo's freeing some of the straggling prisoners, but, Sabo, he's too far away to actually reach her because it's getting a little hairy there. And I like this comment from Sabo. It's like, since when are you incapable of handling things on your own? It's like, what's Koala's abilities?
Yeah, right.
Have we not seen any? And she's just like, hey, I wouldn't be calling if this wasn't within my power. And Luffy actually could be in serious trouble, and that's enough for Sabo to be like,
Sabo's like, I'm on my way.
I got
it. Immediately sprung into action.
But Zoro meets up with everybody, and Usopp's so crying, blubbering. It's like, oh, I thought we were goners. So...
Yeah, I like that even Kinemon, who we've not really heard hide nor hair from a little while. He said, I couldn't believe my eyes when you cut that giant sword statue with just a sword. So even he was impressed, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
impressing the samurais, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But Zoro is very pragmatic about this. It's like, okay, we can't breathe a sigh of relief until this cage is actually gone for good. So there's the one man we need to beat is still standing. But it's according to them, according to Viola, the major enemy powers is down to 3. So we just were that close, and that's when Viola reports, no, it's down to 2. Another one just fell.
Wow, we got rid of Doflamingo already.
That's great. Who knew? And no, we go to the next one, and boy, there's a familiar sight. Bellamy on the ground with a fist imprint on his face.
Yep.
And instead we see this fight as a flashback, which is probably the best way to do it. And Luffy's just like, your body's falling apart. You're going to get yourself killed doing this. Stop. And that's when Bellamy's like, even if I die, as long as I take you down with me, at least that might ensure that Doflamingo remembers me. So Luffy's just like, why are you risking your life for his sake? And again, this chapter is essentially an analysis of the motives behind Bellamy.
Yes.
And it's really good at that because it seems like he's just being dumb.
Yeah, and that's I feel like that's sort of the, certainly from Luffy's perspective, but also from the reader's perspective, is like, this is the most illogical thing you could do. Why are you doing this? You have no reason to do this. And you kind of have to sit through Bellamy's kind of like his logic is very warped, right? And Luffy's trying to get through to him. He's just like, he said that you set you free, but you're staying here and hoping to die fighting me. Don't you think that he knew this would happen? And he's just like he wants to die if that's what it takes to earn his approval. And it's just like you see in this poor man who like this is all that he's living for. He's crying, he's tearing up, but he has this like this little smile on his face, kind of like the realization. Kind of the futility of this whole thing.
And that's when you get the thought bubble from him. It's like, it's like, you don't want this. You're wasting your life. And he's like, no, it is what I want. To have the end be at the hands of the only other man I ever respected. So rather than get taken down by Doflamingo, he wants to fall by Luffy's hands, which is...
Yep.
Damn it, Bellamy! Why do you make me care about you?
Yeah, Bellamy's whole arc here has definitely been one of my favorite subplots throughout this whole arc.
Just
that Oda
interesting little background, right?
Yeah. It's never really. It's never in the foreground for too long. It's just kind of one of those things where you check in every now and again. You're like, oh, Bellamy's just like, oh, he's just been having it worse and worse this entire arc. As a man genuinely trying to redeem himself, even if through the eyes, of a monster. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we this is, I knew it was coming. This is what gets me. We get that same callback, right? It's the, if you're not going to take my fight seriously, I'm going to keep going till I kill you. Take your stance, assuming you know how to throw a punch. And that's when this is... Luffy takes the same... fist up, same pose.
Has the hockey this time. He's like, now die. So long, Straw Hat, but it is Thought Bubbles. Thank you for calling me a friend. Yeah. And as he gets punched into the ground this time, he's just, thank you. That's like,
yeah.
Damn it, Bellamy.
Right?
I understand that I chose the wrong man to idolize and how pitiful that makes me. If I'm going to be an idiot, I've got to see that choice through to its end.
Yeah, man, I think the thing that I've been sitting on this for a little bit, and One Piece is really good at callbacks, right? And usually in a way of just kind of like, oh, this is we're kind of bringing this back, we're recontextualizing this, we're giving you additional information. I don't know if I've ever seen a callback in One Piece that is like, hey, this thing that like the first time it happened was like, it was a hell yeah, it was so satisfying, and then the second time around, it is just a gut punch. It's sad. It is. Like, you feel so much worse for Bellamy the second time it happens. And I just think being able to kind of reuse imagery in an entirely new and like you're using the reader's memory of this, context to just kind of like just get that emotional gut punch in this time.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite moments.
It's amazingly well done, and it does a great job of pissing off Luffy that he is ready to fight. He is so ready to fight Doflamingo.
Yeah, and funny enough, I think maybe the first time in a while where he's actually said his full name and not just Mingo.
That's right. That's how you can tell he's actually serious now.
That's how you know he's mad.
But of course, we end with Doflamingo saying, I hear a wild beast. He better get up here soon because he'll be surprised once he sees your dead body, Law.
Oh, he lost again.
Of course he lost again, but it's fine. Great chapter, and I'm gonna save it for next one. We have sort of a thought process on Doflamingo up to this point, but I think it's better saved for the next chapter. Before we get to that, though, we do have an SBS. Where I love how I have a question about my beloved One Piece, but it has a dash in the middle, so it's very much indicating One Piece dress. So I was like, they're like flowers and whatnot. It's like, and Otis goes along with it, being like, oh yeah, I prefer the frilly One Piece with the flower design. Seems like I often wind up down at the police station answering questions for some nice policemen, but I'm fine. Just silly.
I wonder how this reads in Japanese, because I think they're spelled the same.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not.
I think that I think they added a dash for the readers.
Mm-hmm. But then we get something silly like that paired with, hey, I happen to spot freaking crocodile scribbled into the newspaper that Corazon was reading when he got stabbed by Law initially at age 10.
That is ridiculous.
How did you notice that? But yeah, that is indeed Crocodile. 16 years ago, Crocodile was 30 at the time. When he was younger, he blew up quick, just like Luffy, but he joined the Seven Warlords fairly early on in his early 20s. After that, he challenged Whitebeard and lost, which ties into that connection. And while he stayed quiet after that, his ambitions were turning on Alabasta instead. And this is when he started hunting pirates as a warlord. So the article is actually about him, his heroic exploits saving a country.
What a detail.
Yeah, seriously. Especially because...
That's great.
I can't imagine Doflamingo saving a country. In the same, like, at least Crocodile acted the part.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But let's get to our final chapter for the set, 780, The Heart Curse. And I don't know if Jinbei's going to have further adventures, but it seems like things are wrapping up because the ruins have been sank back down next to the port. The animals have their sleeping spots, so life is good.
Yeah. We we got the poneglyph and we're moving on.
Mm-hmm. And we get into the chapter itself, and yeah, it was a 2-on-1 fight because Treble used his sticky launcher on Law, and Law's lost his arm.
He's down
on his
arm.
back.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, Doflamingo's just kind of like, you couldn't match up to me alone, so why did you challenge both of us?
And Straw Hat won't find it easy to reach us. If he had the metal to kill a so-called friend, he might have been able to save you. Alas, you poor sap. And then he just goes into all the history of Law and like what he is. It's like, you're nothing more than Corazon's vengeful ghost. So, yep. What a meaningless 13 years you've spent. My sympathies. And he just pulls out the lead gun.
Yeah, and I love that he's got a little proposition for Law this time. He's like, if you're gonna die, why not make use of your final moments? Use the op for its ultimate power of me. Perform the immortality surgery, the operation before you die. In exchange, I will grant whatever you desire. And it looks like, at first, Law's like, all right.
He's like, all right, I'm in. It benefits both of us. And it's like, I want you to bring Cora back to life right now. Then go and kiss the butt of every last person in this country. And that just immediately pisses off Doflamingo. He's like, nah, you're the one who doesn't get it, Doflamingo. The Straw Hat crew has performed countless miracles on their way here. You can't stop them. And you can't get Caesar back. Your future is already determined. And that's when he gets shot.
He's giving him the middle finger.
Oh, yeah.
Speech. It's awesome.
What a way to go out. And...
Yep.
That's when, of course, he sees the back of his coat with the Corazon on it, and he's like, what are you trying to say with that? You named your crew the Heart Pirates? What are you insinuating? You won't even sit on the Heart Throne, so why do you wear the heart? And he just keeps shooting him because it's just that defiance, that reminder of Corazon and the betrayal.
Once he runs out of bullets, and he's just, like, your curse ends here. Which, just like, ooh, man.
Yeah,
that might be one of the most like villainous scenes of Doflamingo. It's one of my favorites.
Just constantly shooting this man.
He is just completely lost it at this point. He is done.
Yeah, and we'll keep going here for now. I'm trying to find the right place to bring up what I want to say, but we'll get there. But we go back to the former Royal Plateau, and everybody's climbing down to try to limit the number of casualties and try to make it work. And that's when Viola reports, it's true that the worst of the family are down to just 2 now. That's Treble and Doflamingo. But we've lost a lot of strength too, and that's when we see that, a lot of people are down and Law's down, but it's time for the hell yeah Luffy moment where he bursts through the ground and just like, Doflamingo, I'm ready to fight. And it's like, Bellamy's finally free. It took you long enough. It's like, you knew that would happen. He immediately goes for his elephant gun. Yeah, with the hockey. And nope, blocked.
Yeah, and I love... it's also very funny, too, in flashback, we saw Doflamingo lose his cool again, seeing getting flipped off by Law, seeing the Corazon symbol on his jacket, and now that it's him and Luffy, he's back to just kind of like, oh, he didn't run. He's back. He's back in control. He
compartmentalizes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how he does it. But the spiderweb blocks it. Luffy zips through it on one of the wider ends and tries his gum hawk gatling, which is awesome, and attempts to it. But that's when a bunch of string just bursts on the ground and captured in this thing called the break white, which is
I think this has an explanation.
Oh, really?
Okay. I think this is a thing, and I think we're gonna get the explanation for it somewhat soon. Well, it
would make sense.
It would have to be. There's only so much left. So
yeah, I mean,
if this is what I think it is,
it makes sense that we get some finer details on the devil fruit sooner than later. But Luffy does escape it, and that's when he, by escaping it, he steps into blood, which of course belongs to Law, where he's like, where's your arm? Hang in there. And it's like, can't you tell he's dead? And that's when he's like, he really seemed to trust you. And that's when something starts happening that I wondered if what I thought would be happening throughout the entirety of the arc whenever it first happened with the birdcage. The wall of the strings are actually shrinking. He's bringing in the strings. I'm like, the battle royale is going to happen at some point. And I honestly thought he was going to be doing it sooner, but that's a way to put in the pressure.
Yeah, now we have a little bit of a time limit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, now we've got Luffy, kind of in the same situation that Law's in, where, now he has to fight Doflamingo and Treble on a 2v1. He doesn't. Doflamingo's like, you didn't seem all that strong based on our fight. Now you got to fight two of us. So let's wrap up this little game.
And we end it with Luffy going, "How dare you?" Well, somebody else says, "Listen closely, Straw Hat," which I think means that Law's still alive.
This could be a little more of a plan going on here.
It could be. I mean, I can see Law subtly using his powers to move the bullets.
Yeah,
so they're
something
not
like that.
Fatal or something like that.
But we're getting into it.
Yeah, we are definitely at the fight, and it's gonna determine a lot for this because, like we said, they work, but they weren't fully satisfying when it came to Pica and Diamante, and obviously we have Treble. Honestly, I expect Treble to get stomped almost immediately.
He's definitely kind of the least important aspect of this between him and Doflamingo, Luffy, presuming Law that's still alive.
I still wonder if he might have a greater role to play, but I think at the base level it's just like this makes Doflamingo pay more attention that Treble gets stomped by Luffy with no effort.
Yeah.
But it's just. It's one of those things with all of this going on and the build up to this, because I was thinking this remaining fight has a lot riding on it because of tension. Because in the end, we know how this has to end, but how do you have the tension for it? With Crocodile, it was Luffy losing multiple times. There was timers involving Enos Lobby and Skypiea, or in Skypiea's case, just trying to get to Ineru was the problem. Like Luffy could easily beat him, he just couldn't get to him, and that was the issue. Doflamingo is kind of similar to Ineru in that case, but it's also different. It's not that he can easily beat him. It's beneath him. He doesn't see a reason to do it. So it's like, how do you build all that up, and how do you have that sort of work in a thematic way? But I think it does work because this entire fight has been ostensibly against Doflamingo, dismantling Doflamingo, and I think that's why this kind of works, because he has all these elements to him, these powers, these people under him, and Luffy and the Law and all the allies have been systematically getting rid of all those safety nets, and we've seen it slowly unravel as time is going on. It's finally coming to roost, where it's one of those things where I don't even think Doflamingo realizes it. It's more of a death by 1,000 cuts for him.
I think you're right. Yeah, and that's always been, of course, the whole original plan was to, get Kaido to take down Doflamingo and to sort of let these systems kind of clash at each other, come to a head, kind of, abuse the systems and watch the chaos ensue from the background. But understanding that, like, even if you took down Doflamingo, it wouldn't solve all of the problems overnight, right? Yeah. And so we're kind of going at it from the reverse way, where we're taking away all of his power, and certainly his, like, institutionalized power, his power as the king of Dressrosa, and sort of having, the public, the ones that weren't turned into toys, the average person on his side, and you're kind of having to let, I don't want to say let them, but like they kind of have to realize, the average person, especially now that the birdcage is sinking, like they have to realize that they are in danger too, and that Doflamingo's reign is also bad for them too.
Yeah.
So it really does feel like you're especially with the length and scope and just the grand, epic scale of this arc, it really feels like you were actually, like, taking down a kingdom. It is just that you were taking down Doflamingo's kingdom.
And it really is funny how I forget who mentioned it. I forget the character who mentioned this, but they are very much right. Is that I don't know if the Straw Hats could have pulled this off if it wasn't for the other gladiators being there. Him being so cocksure about his plans, and bringing in all these strong fighters to try to get the flame fruit, really, really screwed him over.
It kind of backfired on him, yeah. And let alone, the decades worth of built up hatred towards them. And yeah, it definitely feels like, and that is an aspect of this arc that I really like, is that it is like this. It is so much more than just the Straw Hats. It is. You're right that they couldn't have pulled this off if like you needed everybody. And you can already start to understand, kind of like, if this is the scale right now, what's to say of, like, the arcs to come? What's to say of, like,
this is still just a warlord.
Yeah, this is still just a warlord. And, we haven't even gotten really, like, any sort of, like, real kind of indication of, like, the final conflict, but in terms of, like, if we're already doing this at Dressrosa, which feels, I don't know if I would say even, like, at a bigger scale than Marineford, but, like, kind of at that level, just kind of, like, focused in a different direction, but just kind of like, how much just, like, raw manpower do you need to, like, bring down, like, these systems of oppression?
Yeah. It's fascinating in that way, and I hope the fight can live up to it, because it's one of those things where Luffy has not lost to Doflamingo yet in any real way.
That's also true. Yeah,
they haven't really clashed. So I'm very curious how Oda's gonna have the pump it up, I guess.
Yeah.
To make it seem like
I
a
certainly
true climax.
I don't remember every aspect of this fight, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. I remember feeling that it's pretty good.
I'm excited, but
yeah, we're right there.
It is close. It is like prediction right now. There's no way this fight goes beyond 790. I think it'll be wrapped up by 790.
Yeah, I mean, if it did, that would be really long for a One Piece fight, for presumably a 1v1. So it's and given again, we need time to wrap up. So which tends to be like 10-15 chapters, especially for the big arcs.
yeah. So it's interesting.
We're at the climax, basically.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We do have an SBS. One asking about what are the spike-like things on Pica's shoulders, and apparently they were formed by the fact that it's like a watermelon growing into a square container. It will eventually fill the space and result in a square watermelon. So Pica wore shoulder protectors in that shape all throughout his growth spurt. So his shoulders just grew in that way, where they just filled in, which is kind of gross. That's
horrifying.
That's really nasty. And then, of course, we get the confirmation that Buggy could easily escape the birdcage. Bye, guys.
That's my boy.
So, yep. But yeah, that is our set this week. And while the fights themselves may not be the most satisfying, there's still a lot of great stuff in this arc itself. I think the quality is still there. It's just like, you always want to have those nice punches to finish things up. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 776 to 780 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube or simply BitNerd on BlueSky. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am Brandon Bovia on Twitter and BlueSky, talking about anime, manga, games in my job, and yeah, just doing more of that.
Yeah. And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derrick Bittner. That's DerrickBitner to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early, as well as patron-exclusive bonus episodes like we were mentioning before. Definitely check those out. Also, a bi-monthly Q&A. So
I did want to mention about the bonus episodes, because now that we've actually got like a pretty good backlog of them, like if you enjoy this podcast, we basically have 6 to 7 hours of bonus content.
Yeah, they don't go as long as
more.
These. They don't go as long as the normal episodes, but typically about 30 to 45 minutes ish.
Yeah, and so if we've done about 12 Q&As and 12 bonus episodes,
we're putting up quite the backlog of content to
check out. Yeah. Like there's actually a lot there if you want to listen to it. So
the value only increases.
Exactly. Yeah. It's only going to get a better value as it goes on. So go check out that backlog.
Yeah, and also just generally open to suggestions for other aspects of One Piece to cover. We have ideas, but there's. We have a lot of episodes left. And a lot of bonus episodes to cover.
A lot of bonus content. Yep, for sure. Sure.
But also, make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 781 to 785 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
This is the end of the road for me. No, this is what I want. To be killed by the only other man I ever respected.